The first time my stepmother had me removed from my mother's hotel, my father wouldn't even look me in the eye. He kept staring at the melting ice in his whiskey glass, like the sound of it cracking might save him from having to choose between us. My name is Victoria Hale, and I still don't know which part hurt more. Vivian calling security on me in front of 200 people, or my father whispering, "Please don't make this worse," like I was the dangerous one. The guard who touched my arm smelled faintly like cigarette smoke and winter air. He looked embarrassed. I remember that more clearly than Vivian's face. "Ma'am," he said quietly. I nodded before he even finished. That was the humiliating part. Not being thrown out. Cooperating. I picked up my coat from Sal at the front desk without saying anything. My hands were steady in a way that almost scared me, like my body had decided to stop involving my feelings in important moments. Behind me, the music started again too quickly. Someone laughed too loudly near the champagne tower. Vivian's voice floated over the room in that polished, fake soft tone she used whenever she wanted to sound gracious. "Families are complicated," she said. People gave those uncomfortable little smiles rich people give when they're relieved the scene is over and it didn't happen to them. Outside, the cold hit me so hard my eyes watered instantly. The harbor smelled like salt and engine fuel and wet wood. Across the water, the buoy bell rang 6 times. Slow, hollow. The exact same sound my mother used to stop and listen to every evening, no matter what she was doing. I stood there breathing steam into the dark while the valet searched for my car, and all I could think was, they erased her so slowly, I helped them do it. That's the truth nobody likes hearing about grief. Sometimes you participate in your own disappearance because fighting feels exhausting. For 16 years, I called that maturity. Really, it was cowardice dressed up as restraint. I'd watched Vivian remove my mother piece by piece. First the scholarship foundation, then the plaque in the lobby, then the old photographs. Then eventually, even her name stopped coming up in conversation unless I brought it up first. Which I stopped doing because every time I did, the room changed temperature. People sighed. People checked their phones. My father got tired looking. So I learned how to shut up. And I wasn't noble about it either. I punished him quietly for years. Ignored birthdays, sent short texts, let calls go to voicemail just so he'd sit with it a while. Part of me wanted him to feel abandoned. Another part wanted him to chase me anyway. He never really did. By the time the valet pulled my car around, something inside me had gone strangely calm. Not angry. Worse. Clear. I didn't drive home. I drove to the storage unit I'd been paying for every month without visiting. 11 years of automatic withdrawals for memories I couldn't bear to touch. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead when I unlocked Unit 114. Dust everywhere, old furniture under sheets, my college bike with one flat tire, boxes labeled in my mother's handwriting I had stopped being able to read without feeling physically sick. And there, exactly where I'd left it, was the cedar box. I sat staring at it longer than I want to admit. It's embarrassing, the things grief turns into mythology. I had convinced myself opening that box would somehow reopen the worst day of my life. Like pain waits politely inside containers until you lift the lid. The brass latch felt cold against my thumb. I still couldn't do it. So instead, I sat on the concrete floor in my expensive wool coat like an idiot and cried hard enough my ribs hurt. Not graceful crying either. The ugly kind. The kind where your nose runs and your chest locks up, and you suddenly remember tiny, useless things that ambush you sideways. My mother humming while inventorying wine glasses. Her handwriting on grocery lists. the way she tucked receipts into books and forgot about them. I cried because I'd spent 16 years pretending I was above needing anything from anyone. Then I cried because that wasn't true. The storage unit was freezing. Somewhere nearby, a metal door slammed shut and echoed down the hallway. I wiped my face with my sleeve and finally opened the box. The first thing inside wasn't sentimental at all. No photographs, no jewelry. A business card. Cream cardstock, navy lettering. Marion Webb, independent trustee. Underneath, in my mother's handwriting, call her first. I stared at those words so long, my vision blurred again. I'm a property attorney. Trust language is my entire profession. The second I read trustee, something inside my brain sharpened instantly, despite the exhaustion. My mother had created a trust, which meant maybe, everything I'd believed for 16 years wasn't true. It was almost midnight. Any rational person would have waited until morning. I called anyway. She answered on the second ring. No irritation, no sleep-heavy voice, just calm. This is Marion Webb. My name is Gabriel Townsend, I said, and suddenly my throat tightened so badly I had to swallow twice. I think you knew my mother. A pause, then softly, I've been waiting for you. I barely slept that night. I kept replaying the gala in my head, Vivian's hand lifting towards security, Brooke smirking while pretending not to record it on her phone, my father standing there looking trapped in the same pathetic way he always looked when conflict appeared, like a man hoping silence might count as morality if he wore it long enough. And underneath all of it was something uglier I didn't want to examine too closely. Hope. I hated myself for that part, because hope makes fools out of grown women. Marion's office overlooked the marina. Gray water, gray sky, expensive quiet. She had silver hair pulled back neatly and reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. The office smelled like coffee and old paper. Real paper, not printer ink. It reminded me painfully of my mother's office at the hotel. There was a thick folder on the table when I walked in. Diane M. Townsend, Family Trust. Seeing my mother's full name typed neatly on the tab nearly undid me all over again. Marion folded her hands carefully. Your mother established the trust 2 years before her death, she said. I remember laughing once, short and humorless. That's interesting, I said, because apparently my stepmother owns her entire life's work now. Marion looked at me for a long moment. No, she said gently. She doesn't. The room went completely still. Even now, I can remember the sound of the heating vent clicking on behind me. I think part of me already knew before she explained it. Maybe that's why I avoided the box for so many years, because somewhere deep down, I understood opening it would require me to stop pretending I was powerless. And power is responsibility. People forget that part. Marion opened the folder slowly. The Harbor Crown Operating Company was separated from the property itself, she explained. Your mother placed ownership of the land and building into the trust before she died. I stared at her. I'm sorry, I said quietly. What? Your father's company leases the hotel. It does not own it. My stomach dropped so suddenly, I actually pressed a hand against the edge of the chair. Outside the window, a boat horn sounded low across the harbor. 16 years. 16 years of watching strangers slowly repaint my mother's life while believing there was nothing left of hers to save. Marion slid one final envelope across the table. My name was written on it in blue ink, my mother's handwriting. My hands shook opening it. The letter inside was only 1 page. Gabby, if you're reading this, you finally stopped running away from hard things. I know your father. He will confuse keeping peace with doing right, and one day another woman will use that weakness against him. Don't waste your life hating either of them. Just don't keep volunteering your silence to people who profit from it. I had to stop reading for a second after that, because suddenly I understood something awful. My mother knew me well enough to predict I would disappear myself before anyone else fully managed to do it for me.